That was wonderful, Marty. Thank you. That was actually almost the way I wrote it. Very pleasant of you. Well, good morning to you all. Good morning. Is it going to be this way the whole conference? I mean, it depends on me. I see. So he wants to lay more on me. Well, let me start by simply commenting about what Marty said. I mean, number one, he introduces me with Steve Jobs' house. He could have picked mine. He could have picked Mr. Watson's out in Painted Post, New York. After all, IBM is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. But I'm finding that Marty is a unique individual in many ways. I should have known that because, I mean, his whole purpose in life is getting you to listen to what he's saying or read what he's written or buy what he's said or buy what he's written. But he wrote some things about me. Back in January, he blogged in the middle of January that this guy Donofrio is coming to this conference and he's going to tell you all about why nuclear is the answer. That's exactly what the blog said. And then he went on to snip out a little piece of what our interview was all about. But of course, you have to start, Marty, with what was the question, as opposed to nuclear is the answer. You're going to learn very quickly in the short time that we have this morning that I'm not an energy expert. That's not why I'm here. And if you're here to learn something from me about energy, you could sleep right now, or you could go out and check your email, or you could go back and rearrange your room if you'd like. In fact, I venture to say you're not going to learn much new from me this morning. You might get to understand a few things in a different way because I'm going to give you some unique perspectives to think about things that you're dealing with. But that's about it, my friends, because actually there isn't much new, especially for people like you at your position in life. And then to add insult to injury, Marty gives me this great introduction, and the title on my little introduction there in the agenda that you have, Energy's Pivotal Role in National Economic Revival, Bring on the Entrepreneurs. Well, I have news for you. It's not just the entrepreneurs, it's the intrapreneurs as well. And the better thought may not be either intrapreneurship or entrepreneurship. The better thought may actually be innovation. Innovation. Where's the innovation? So with your permission, I'm going to kind of give you my perspective on what needs to go on. Not just in energy, but actually in this country, for us to literally propagate the American dream. And energy has a lot to do with it, a lot to do with it. And I don't know if you worry about the American dream. I don't know if you think about it. I happen to be a product of the American dream. My grandparents were all born in southern Italy. My mother and father were born here. And in my family, the kids were made to go to school to be better than their parents. We were taught first and foremost to be American, not Italian. We were taught first and foremost that education was going to be incredibly important. So you're going to go to college. Neither my mother nor my father went to college. So the question is, can that propagate itself? And the real issue for us to deal with is whether or not we're comfortable making change. Marty said this himself. He used these very words. Change. It's all about change. Everything good that fundamentally happens, I think, because of change. Now, there's lots of change going on in the world. The question is, what's your capacity for change? Yes, you're a regulated industry. Yes, you can sit there and droll away at all the rules, the regulations, the legislation, the organizations that want to slow you down. You can do that. Or you can just simply say, okay, those are the rules of the game, then we're going to play it a little differently. That's what entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and innovators do. They actually look at the same stuff that everybody's looking at. They see exactly what you see. They see it a little differently. Their perspective is a little different. This topic of innovation is powerful, especially here in the 21st century. It's different. In my industry, something I can talk to you about, the information technology industry, used to always be about technology. Used to be about the invention, the creation, or the discovery. I found maybe 10, 15 years ago, that's not what it's about. That's not how real value is generated. That's not how real business is generated. That's not how progress is being made. It's not in this industry. And by the way, that appropriate slide of Steve Jobs, there isn't a technological discovery in anything he's ever done. Think about it. He simply takes a whole bunch of stuff that exists that you can see, I can see, we can understand, and he puts it together in a unique and facile way to unlock hidden value. And do you know why? Because he starts with the problem, not the answer. And most of what goes on in this country, let alone this world, starts with the answer and not the problem. Let's just propagate what we're doing. It's not that bad, is it? We're doing okay, aren't we? I mean, after all, we're not facing a crisis, are we? Are we? Start with the problem, my friends. If you want to unleash the value, if you want to unleash the entrepreneurs and the intrapreneurs, you start with the problem. That's what I've learned. That's what entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs do. They don't start with the answer. You're going to need technology, you're going to need products, you're going to need services, you're going to need all of that eventually, but not in the beginning. Now, I know that's controversial. Some people simply say, all we need to do is to practice better science or better engineering or better mathematics, or, we just need to get back to the basics. Basics aren't going to do it. They're not going to do it because that's what everybody's competing against you is doing, is the basics. So yeah, if you want to stay in that primordial ooze and you want to try to swim your way out, stick with it. Stick with it. Keep doing it. One of you will survive. The room has got more than one person in it. This country is growing with people, right? We're going to add another 100 million Americans between now and 2050. I don't think that's the way they're all going to succeed. Not at all. This idea around innovation is all about trying to get focused, to get yourself into the mode of understanding that it has everything to do with the pursuit of real value. Real and lasting value. It could be any real and lasting value. It could be business value, it could be political value, it could be academic value, it could be societal value. I'm not going to argue about what the value is, but that's what it's about, and the fact that value migrates. How about that? Value migrates. And it's not in your hands. It's in the hands of the market. It's in the hands of the clients. It's in the hands of the customers. That's the fact. And if it doesn't happen here, it'll happen somewhere else. Now we get back to that issue of change. Is that what it takes for us to do something different? Does it take that kind of a crisis? Does it take a threat? Does it take a near-death experience? Does it take someone, pounding us down to below the top 100 on the OECD lists? Is that what it takes? Look, I came from a company where that's exactly what it took. It took a near-death experience for IBM to change. You know the power of a near-death experience? It's incredible if you've never experienced it. It's very illuminating. It's very mind clearing. It's very, very helpful. It's also very destructive. It's also very difficult, and it's clearly not anything you want to make a steady diet of. This is not the way you want to motivate yourself to change. You want to change before you get to that situation, not while you're there or as you're getting there or after you've arrived. This is our biggest problem, changing when things aren't so bad. It's pathetic. It's pathetic that we lose sight of the fact that time is the thing we don't have on our side. For whatever reason. For whatever reason, when you think about our energy strategy in this country, for whatever reason, whether you think of it in the economic sense, whether you think of it in the environmental sense, or you think of it in the security sense, time is not on our side. For goodness sakes, just read the newspaper this morning, watch the TV. Things are changing around us at an incredibly rapid rate. I don't know, maybe when oil gets to $200 a barrel, maybe when gas gets to $6 a gallon, maybe things start to change. That's our biggest problem. That's the real dilemma to being innovative. And by the way, that's what entrepreneurs thrive on. They thrive on that small difference. They look for it, and that's where they go. They're not the kind of people, innovators are not the kind of people who like being told, we've tried that before. It just doesn't work. We've put that together with that before, and that makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. Why would anybody do it that way? That's exactly where a lot of these great ideas, my friend, come from. By putting together things that have never been put together before. By thinking about innovation in the context of everything. It's not just your product or your service. It could be your process. It could be your management system. It could be anything. Value could migrate to any point. Your business model. Your business model could be the value proposition that is innovative in the final analysis. This is what we need to do more of. This is what the energy industry in this country needs to do more of. And then think about the environment that you need for that, which is probably the antithesis of the environment that you live in. An open, trusting, how about that, Mike? Collaborative, multidisciplined, and global environment. This is what we've found over the years matters. This is where real innovation, this is how the hotbed of innovation is actually created. In that environment, open, collaborative, multidisciplined, and global. Collaborative. With your clients, with your customers, you'll actually know what the problem is that you're solving, as opposed to trying to just propagate the past. Look, I don't want you to go away from here thinking, this guy's against science, he's against invention, creation, and discovery. That's not the case. Not at all. We need to keep doing major world-class science, engineering. We need to create, we need to invent, we need to discover, we need to do all those things. But if that's all you do, then all you're likely to get is what you've been getting. And is that comforting for you? Are you happy there? If you're happy there, then stay there. But remember, everybody else isn't. You think China is staying there? You think they're happy with where they are? You think India is going to stay where it is? You think Africa is going to stay where it is? Latin America is going to stay? Well, clearly, the Middle East isn't going to stay where it is. We've already seen that. You see, that's the problem. We're 300 million people out of what? 6 billion going to 7 billion people? Everything else is changing whether you like it or not. And you've got to go with it. You've got to change. You've got to learn how to do this in good times and not just in bad times. Now, I want you to understand that as a developer, and that's what I did when I did honest work for a living at IBM. And I did do honest work for a living. I developed a lot of great things. I'm an optimist. And I'm an optimist about us. I'm an optimist about our country. I'm an optimist about the energy industry. That's why I'm spending so much of my personal time engaged in it. Not because I know all of the nuances. And you got a wonderful group of people here, Marty. You brought a brilliant group of people together. I mean, I looked at the agenda, and I'm always amazed that you got me to come. But you know, I love NewScale. I don't know where the NewScale person is. That's a free piece of unpaid for advertisement. Of course, you got Dan here from Enroll, Bloom Energy, Solar City, all my most favorite things in the world. And then, of course, you've got, eventually, you're going to have the president and CEO of AEP. I actually almost went to work for AEP. But for the fact that my mother made me go to work for IBM, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be on that side. I'd be you listening to me or somebody else talk about it. But you know, that's what good Italian sons do, exactly what their mothers tell them to do. So that's exactly why I did that. And lo and behold, it worked out for me. So it's a great group of people. And I can't, like I said, contribute in the context of what's going on with the specifics of energy. I'm an inclusionist. I like everything that's on this agenda. Yes, I like nuclear. I like renewables. I like everything. I like coal. I like everything. I want everything to go forward. I'm not naive. We got to find a way to get everything to go forward. That's the problem. It's not me versus you. It's not us versus them. It's not this versus that. It's the whole thing. It's the integrated thing. It's the system. We don't think like systems people here. We think like component people. Is that what you're going to be for the rest of your life? A component provider? Now, I'm not insulting you. Don't take it that way. But, you know, even if you're good at gas or good at oil or good at coal or good at solar, you're still a component in the grander scheme of things. Excuse me. The grander scheme of things is everything integrated for this country. Where are you thinking about that? Including the transmission, including the distribution, including the end users. Where does that get thought about? Who gets to integrate that? Well, we know who we gave that responsibility to now. It may come as a surprise to you, but nobody had it in the federal government. But we gave it through the president to the Secretary of Energy. We just I helped write, as part of the working group, this PCAS study that looked at the acceleration of the pace of change in energy. They got it right. The acceleration of the pace of change. So at least we have somebody who now has to stand up and be responsible for the broad system level thought. But you, each of you, underneath that, have to stand up for a system-level thought underneath it as well. You see, this is how you're going to win, is because you're going to be taking these broader thoughts, these system-level thoughts, these integration thoughts, and not dealing with the components. Yeah, you're going to deal with the components, but you're going to find that the components isn't where the value is, that it's migrating away from them. It's not there anymore. Back to Steve Jobs. You have an iPad? Look at the back of it. It says made in China. That's what it says. What'd your iPad cost you? $400? $300? I don't know. I don't even know. I don't have one, so I don't know what they cost. Something like that, isn't it? How much of that iPad comes from China? How much? Got a guess? 10%. You want that value? Did you want the $40 that's actually in China? Or did you want the $360 that's registered here? You want those components? Or did you want that system? What did you want? Where are you focused? See, this never escaped Steve's imagination. That's why he's one of a kind, and he's a very good friend of mine. Known him for a very long time. We didn't always get along. We don't always get along. And we clearly always didn't agree. But you got to respect the man. He got this early on. Is that the way you think about things? Is that where your heads are? You say, well, you don't know, Nick. It's just not here. You can't do it here. It's just not in this industry. Oh, really? Okay. Let's see. How does this work? My history. What was it? Back in 1990, we convinced the U.S. Navy to stop building wooden mock-ups of the conning tower, to start to believe and trust the modeling and simulation that we could deliver for them with 3D CAD/CAM systems. And they proceeded to build the new nuclear submarine fleet that way, between Groton, Connecticut, and Newport News. And they put thousands of carpenters out of work because they didn't need to build wooden mock-ups anymore. Boeing 777, the digital designed airplane. I was there for that too. 1993, 4, 5, until they finally flew one in 96 or 97. Never built a mock-up of it. Never. First plane they built was the first plane they built and flew. Different? Okay, something closer to home. Nuclear weapons. Not a popular topic, but I'm leaving immediately after I talk anyway, so. I'm not all for them, but we have them. Do you think about how we manage the nuclear stockpile? Does it worry you that our weapons will actually work? We don't test them anymore. We haven't tested a nuclear weapon in, God knows, 20, 30 years. How do you know they're going to work? How does Russia know they're going to work? How does Iran know they're going to work? How does India know they're going to work? How does Afghanistan? How does China know they're going to work? How do they know? You don't ever blow them up? Did you know that every year somebody has to certify that nuclear stockpile? Somebody has to certify to the president, dear president, these weapons will work. Anything that didn't, we took out of service and we demanufactured. How do they do that? They do that with modeling and simulation. I was there in the beginning of the ASCII program, back in 1993, 94, 95. We signed up to give them a ton of compute capacity. A ton of compute capacity. That's how they manage the nuclear stockpile. That's how they know those weapons will work. And you know what? The Russians know they know it. And the Chinese know they know it. And of course, they're trying to spread that same technology to them so that they don't get itchy to blow up a bomb to make sure it works. Modeling and simulation. IT. It's now you say, well, that's what I expect from this guy. He's an IT guy. I know that, but it's true. There's a value proposition here waiting for you to innovate around, to integrate into your thinking, to do a better job. It's ripe. It's ripe for you now. IBM. We play chess with Deep Blue. We beat Kasparov in the mid-90s. IBM, we make the world's largest supercomputer for the ASCII program to manage the nuclear stockpile called Blue Gene. And we win the National Medal of Technology from the President Obama, for that. And then February 14th, I don't know where you were on Valentine's Day, but did you watch Jeopardy? Did you see what Watson did? Doesn't that mean something to you? Can't you figure out now, how do I get one of those and do something with it? How do I put that intelligence to work in a different and unique way? You see, the fact of the matter is, my friends, the world is instrumented. It is interconnected. And the question is whether or not you're going to make it intelligent. That's where the opportunity is for you to make a difference. And trust me, Chinese see this as plain as they see this hand right here. The Indians see it. Everybody sees it. We're back to innovation, aren't we? Everybody sees it. It's in the open. Who's going to unlock that hidden value? Who's going to do that? Those are the innovators. Marty, those are the entrepreneurs. Those are the entrepreneurs. They are ready to rock and roll. Things are so different. You can't assume it's actually the way it was when you began. It is so different. I learned as an engineer, always go back. When all else fails, go back and check those assumptions. There is something wrong with them. And believe me, there's a lot wrong with them. A lot wrong with them, given how much technology has advanced, how much the world has changed. Not just from a technological perspective, but from a social, political, economic perspective, and is going to continue to change. It's a great time to be alive. As I was getting ready to leave IBM, I said to them, I couldn't have picked a better time to be born, to be dropped on the face of the earth, to be allowed to participate in making these differences. But then I started to reflect on it, and I said, that's just not right. Actually, this is the better time to have been born. You have so much more to work with, so much more capability at your fingertips to make a difference with. You have everything at your disposal to be shaped, to be molded, to allow you to be even more prosperous, to allow you to continue the American dream, to allow you to continue to provide hope for the future, a better standard of living, to be more productive. And at the same time that you're being more productive, you are also going to drive more jobs. I know there's always issues in people's minds about the countervailing forces. Is one working against the other? I read somewhere just recently, maybe you saw this as well, since 1929, in this country, on a 10-year rolling average basis, to last year, on a 10-year rolling average basis to last year, there has never been a 10-year period, except for once, in that, whatever it is, 80-year slice, where productivity and employment worked against each other. Only once in that entire 80-year period. That's not the popular belief, is it? That's not the way people feel about things. But that's what you've got to do. Because that's what the other people, the new people, are doing. They're doing that correct by construction, as I like to say. You're not blessed with correct by construction. You've got the installed base. You've got to take it forward. You've got to move it forward. You can't stop and start. That's a blessing in disguise. You have to figure out where that blessing is. You have to figure out exactly how to do that. It's a great time to be alive. There's so many better things left to be done. Now, the question is, are we going to do it? Are we up to it? Are we really up to that task? And do we have the skills, the capabilities, the talent to do it? It's a real issue for me. If you want the core gut issue, that's the real core gut issue. Do we have the talent to do what needs to be done, given all the capability that has been pushed together here, brought together here, developed here, deposited here? I don't know. I really don't know if we have the talent. I'm worried. I'm worried that our schools are not educating the young people the way they need to. It's not just a math and science thing either, by the way. You know, I'm worried about the breadth of people, not just the depth of people. I like more people shaped like the letter T than I like people shaped like the letter I. You understand the difference? We keep generating more and more people shaped like the letter I. That's what the Chinese are doing. Of course, they're killing us, right? Generating more engineers, more scientists, better scores, better this, blah, blah, blah. They do everything better by rote. Is that how you all make a living? Is by rote? Every day you go to look in a book? Well, maybe you do, but that's not, you know. Everybody else that really does work for a living, do you actually go and look in a book to get the answer? I've never solved the problem that I could find in the books at RPI. Never. Somehow they managed to escape them. So we have something here, don't we? What is it? Is it that problem-based learning? Is it that inquisitiveness? Is it the freedoms that we're blessed with that allow us to do what we want and pursue things in strange and different ways that others don't? Don't be naive. It's exactly what it is. That's exactly where we are. And we're fools if we don't cash in on it. Absolute fools if we don't take this moment and seize this moment here and now to do a much better job. All of the ideas you're going to talk about in this conference, every one of them is a great idea. We need them all and more. All and more. And the grid. I can't sit down without saying something about the grid. It's not clear to me that we're as serious about the smart grid as, I don't even know what the smart grid is. I mean, I do because I helped start it when I was at IBM, but it's not clear to me that we really understand the grid as a system. We understand it as components. It's not clear to me we understand it as a system. And what's frightening, what's really frightening to me, is I know China's building one correct by construction. They're building a 21st century grid that, you would salivate for. It's going to be incredibly rich, incredibly robust, incredibly capable. And I worry about, is that our attitude here? Or is our attitude here, well, it is what it is, that's the way it was, it grew up this way, it's been this way for, 90 years, and, it's never let us down, we'll keep doing it. And then, you do renewables in one spot, and you can't get them to another spot, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you're at the mercy of 16 other people who've got to all say grace over the same thing for you to make any progress. Man, will that ever take the life out of you? You talk about Frank Dodd. That's like a walk in the park, compared to these other things that are going to take you to your knees. T-shaped people, that's what we need more of. From both directions, by the way. From people who are this way, need to become this way, and people who are this way need to become that way. From both directions. This is what's going to save us. This is what's going to matter here in the United States. This is what's going to define the jobs of the 21st century. This is what's going to assure our leadership. This is what's going to make a difference for the American dream in the end. You see, my friends, it's always about change. It's always been about change. It always will be about change. And changing when you don't need to change is a very hard thing to do. It's something we should master. It's something that your companies need to master. It's something that this country needs to master. You've been a great audience this morning. I'm sorry I can't spend more time with you. I hope I didn't really confuse you with my comments. I hope you got some sense out of this. We're in a new place. You've got more capability than you're tapping into. You are underutilizing the very assets this country helped to create. Don't let that continue to happen. You're very capable, you're very bright, you're very clever, you're very intuitive. Now let's become innovative. Let's generate real and lasting value that matters. Have a great day.